Welcome to the Revolutionary Sports Show. This is the Conference Championship edition before Super Bowl 51. I'm your co-host, Corey Sullivan. Over there, we got Brian Duchaine.
What's going on, guys? It's going to be a fun one today, like always.
Always going to be fun. I believe last week we were 2-2. Correct me if I'm wrong. But a lot worse than we did that first week. But, it's the playoffs, and now we can only miss two. So we're down to the final four teams. Let's get it started with the AFC Championship. We have the New England Patriots hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. What do you think about this matchup?
This one should be interesting because the Steelers have proven that they can go on the road and get wins when they need to. And then you have the Patriots, who historically have been one of the best teams in the playoffs, especially at home, outside of when they played the Seahawks at home this year, and the Seahawks were able to beat them. But Tom Brady, just one of those guys. You can never count him out, even when you think they're done for the season. He comes back, makes the playoffs, a lot like Aaron Rodgers this year. And now Tom Brady is doing his thing, and he's carrying his team on his back. Got LeGarrette Blount and guys like Julian Edelman, Martellus Bennett out there trying to put in what they can get out there and trying to send them back to the Super Bowl. Then you have guys on the other side like Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, even guys like Ben Roethlisberger out there just trying to piece everything together, and I think they have at the right time. And Pittsburgh's kind of like one of those teams that they don't usually play well until the playoffs. They'll slip up a couple times in the regular season. Everyone will count them out. Then they'll come to the playoffs, and all of a sudden they're good again. So you're looking at it. They're coached by, I think you said one of the best coaches in the league, Mike Tomlin. And this one should be interesting. I think when you throw Ben Roethlisberger against somebody like Tom Brady, which the New England defense I don't think is all-star cast by any means, and the Pittsburgh defense is all right. They're pretty good. They're looking okay. But when you put them together, it's going to be an interesting matchup because you got somebody like Tom Brady out there just trying to pick apart the defense, and he's proven that he can do that. Then you got guys like Le'Veon Bell that are going to run over the defensive dudes that are trying to tackle him, and he's going to run into the secondary, run over a safety or even a corner that tries to tackle him, pull a Marshawn Lynch during the Beastquake run. And I don't know if you've seen Planet Earth, but that lizard running through the sand narrated by Marshawn Lynch. Maybe it'll be narrated by Le'Veon Bell after this playoff series. I don't know, but I'm going to stick with the Steelers in this one, although I'm not really a fan of either of them. I think the Steelers have proven they can go on the road and steal a win. And even though New England is likely the favorite and New England will be at home, I think the Steelers are kind of playing with a chip on their shoulder at this point. And they've got some of the best players in the league with Antonio Brown, arguably the best wide receiver in the league. Then you got guys like Le'Veon Bell, best running back in the league, and then Ben Roethlisberger holding it all together. So I think they can do it, and I don't think LeGarrette Blount is nearly the quality that Le'Veon Bell is. And maybe I'm just biased because I'm a Michigan State fan personally, but when you look at it, I think the Steelers have got the necessary ingredients to take down the Patriots, and I think they're going to do it. What do you see in this matchup?
I see majority of the same thing. I saw something interesting. It was a picture of the last couple quarterbacks that have been the host in the Super Bowl for the AFC, and it's predominantly the last 13, 14 years been either Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, or Peyton Manning. And I thought that was something interesting. And there was even a Joe Flacco appearance in there. I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, this is the time of year where these, you have to have this caliber of a quarterback to make a Super Bowl run. And from the teams left, that's what you got. Brock Osweiler, obviously, we both didn't see that with the Texans. And the Patriots, that's really the only team they beat. Handily, they beat the Texans, but Tom Brady didn't play elite as you have seen him in the past. He had a lot of mistakes, completed under 50% of his passes, 2 interceptions, very uncharacteristic for him. And it was all at home. He performed like this at home. Now, I don't want you to think that I think that the Steelers are the same caliber of defense that the Texans are, but they're the best defense left. Although, at this point, the defenses haven't been very, very good in the NFL, especially here in the playoffs, as we saw the Falcons destroy the Seahawks last week, unfortunately. But I think with Ryan Shazier and even James Harrison, I don't know how he keeps doing it. He gets older and better. He's like some vino, if you will. He's the new vino. and they're pretty good. They're missing Cameron Hayward. I believe he's done for the season, but these two teams, it's very difficult to get pressure on their quarterbacks. Both these quarterbacks haven't been sacked 20 times total throughout the whole season, and it's going to be who can get pressure. And I'm just not convinced with any of the Patriots' talent, and that's no disrespect to Devin McCourty and Patrick Chung, but I just don't see Julian Edelman and Martellus Bennett and some of those other guys being key pieces in a championship run. It's kind of a really ugly team to win a Super Bowl. If you look at it at the end of the day, there's no names that really jump out at you. LeGarrette Blount isn't a prolific running back, although he has 18 touchdowns, over 1,100 rushing yards this year. Very decent stats. Tom Brady has been near invincible, only 2 interceptions all season long, but then threw 2 picks this last game at home. So it's just Tom Brady doing the most with what he has. He's been able to move the ball, been able to kind of blanket the non-talent that he has around him. He doesn't have those Randy Mosses and Gronkowskis and Aaron Rodgers that he did before. And I don't want to say that it shows because it hasn't yet. He's been doing a fantastic job of covering up the abilities that his guys don't have. Chris Hogan is not a prolific. You don't want him to be your number 2 guy, and he is. He's playing good. He's playing really good. Chris Hogan's playing good. Edelman's playing really well, and Dion Lewis is finding his way in the run game with LeGarrette Blount. So I don't want to sit here and say that they're bad players. It just isn't the sexiest Super Bowl championship team to me, and the defense isn't that great. Obviously, number 1 scoring defense in the NFL, so they're not terrible. But it just, like I said, Patrick Chung and Devin McCourty and those guys out there they're not doing it for me. And on the other side, the Steelers, they got it. Le'Veon Bell, the best running back in the game right now. Antonio Brown getting it done each and every week, over 100 yards receiving in both their playoff matchups, and Ben Roethlisberger is one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the game. So this is exactly who you want to see, exactly the type of offense that you want to go into Foxborough and try to knock off the Patriots, the annual juggernaut. And we talk about Mike Tomlin being one of the best coaches. Bill Belichick is arguably one of the best coaches of all time. And no matter how he all the controversy surrounding the team, he gets it done. He wins games, and you don't really have to like him, but as long as he wins, that's all that Robert Kraft and the Patriots Nation cares about, and that's what they do. So I'm going with you, though. I like what the Steelers have. I like their defense a lot more. I'm a guy who just loves defense. So the Steelers' defense is better, and their offense, I really don't see any defense that can stop this juggernaut offense. They can move the ball at will on the ground. Le'Veon Bell, almost 170 yards per game on the ground in the playoffs. And Antonio Brown obviously getting it done in the passing game. So, and if you can't get to Ben Roethlisberger or in the backfield, I just don't see this offense stopping, especially after such an impressive win in Arrowhead, one of the most difficult places to play in the NFL. Some people say even harder than CenturyLink. Now, of course, you and I would never say such a thing, but the masses believe that it's one of the most difficult places to play, and they pulled out a victory. So I'm going with the Steelers in this one.
Yeah, and then we got the Packers and the Falcons. This one is also going to be a really good one. People said the Cowboys were going to the Super Bowl, and somebody I was talking to a couple weeks ago even told me nobody's stopping the Cowboys, and I told them I think somebody will, and I don't know who it'll be yet, but I think the Cowboys with a rookie quarterback, a rookie running back, they just didn't have the playoff experience to get them to the Super Bowl, and of course, he was kind of upset about it and said the Cowboys were going to do it, and nobody was going to come close to stopping them, and then their first playoff game at home, they go down. And who is it? It's the Green Bay Packers. But on the other side, you got the Atlanta Falcons, who played against the Seahawks, the Seahawks missing Earl Thomas, totally different team. But they did get a confidence booster against the Lions at home. Then they go on the road where historically they have not been very good in the divisional round on the road. And they come up short in Atlanta, and Matt Ryan just looked like he was out there having a heyday. And it wasn't that the Seahawks could really sit back and just let them pick him apart, really. They were getting good pressure on him, but he would do a little sidearm throw, or he'd throw one over the top right when he got pressure in his face. And I don't know how he did most of it. He would get guys in his face, defensive ends that were within feet of him, and then he'd throw one up in the air and somebody would come down with this. I don't know if it was luck or if it was complete skill or if, they were just in the right place at the right time or what that was. But when you're looking up against a defense like Green Bay, we were watching at a bar last weekend, the Green Bay-Dallas game, and I was like, hey, I would throw it up the sideline, send the guys on streak routes up the sideline. That's the Packers' weakness, and they hadn't exposed it all game, down 21-3. Next play, they run a streak down the sideline, and it turns out to be a touchdown. I just don't know why more teams haven't done that. It worked against the Packers for the Lions. It worked against the Packers for the Cowboys last week when they did it. Teams just need to stick with it because obviously the Packers can't cover up the sidelines on deep routes. And I don't know why they're just kind of messing around with even running plays and trying to get the run game going because, of course, you have to run to set up the pass. But if you can pass all day and you can run a little bit just to set up the pass, I would do that against this Packers secondary. But the Packers also looking very good on offense. We talked about it last week, no Jordy Nelson, and then Rodgers comes out and puts together the winning final drive for the winning field goal, which field goal didn't even look like it was going to be good at first, and then it kind of drifted back and somehow was good. But the Packers are just one of those teams. They're hot right now, even though they're on the road again. I also think, people from Atlanta are not going to like what I'm about to say, but Atlanta's not a good sports city at all. They have trouble drawing for their playoff games, and even Atlanta Braves games didn't sell out. They lost their hockey team because they couldn't draw. Their basketball team doesn't draw well. So I'm just really not sold on Atlanta as a sports city personally, but they do have probably the best running back tandem in the league right now. They're getting yardage, and like I said, he gets guys in his face, and he looks up. One of his backs is just sitting there waiting for him. So I don't know if they're going to be able to do that against Green Bay. If Green Bay can get pressure on them, then it's going to be an interesting game because the Seahawks, I felt like, were able to get some pretty good pressure on them, and then somehow there's always a guy open. And I think Matt Ryan, 2-4 in the playoffs, which 2 of those wins the Seahawks, sadly. But looking forward to this game, I just think that the Packers are going to do it. I hate to pick the Packers because I'm personally a Lions and a Seahawks fan, and both those teams don't like the Packers. But I'm just picking it based on home field advantage for Atlanta not being as strong as a place like CenturyLink Field, not as strong as a place like Lambeau Field, and not even like a place like Soldier Field where you could have the possibility of Andre. Even though Chicago's not in the playoffs, they do have a good home field advantage in the playoffs if they were to get a game. Lambeau Field always frozen, but Atlanta, you're playing in a dome, so there's no what happens if it rains? What will it do to both these teams? What happens if it's freezing cold? Will the quarterbacks be able to throw it deep? It's just all in a dome. And Aaron Rodgers, I think, he's not going to really fret from that one. He's just going to come out and start gunning deep and looking for his receivers that are left. And Randall Cobb and the crew are going to try to hold it down for Green Bay. Ty Montgomery, probably going to be the prime back because, let's face it, we're not sold on Christine Michael at all. I know neither one of us are huge fans of Christine Michael, and everyone thought he was good when he was with the Seahawks, but I don't know if it was his personality or him tripping over himself that got him released. But I think I got to go with the Packers in this one because I'm not really sold on either of their defenses. I think the Falcons' defense is a little bit better defense because the Packers' secondary is absolutely atrocious, but they're winning games with a secondary that's not very good. So I think even if their secondary can give up 31 points and still win the game like they did last week, I think the Packers can do it. I think the Falcons can probably score around 28, 31 points. I think the Packers can outscore them, but I think it's going to be a shootout in this one, but I'm sticking with the Packers. What do you see in this one?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a shootout as well. You and I both know, pretty much everyone knows that it's hard to beat a team twice in the NFL, and we just saw it just last week. I feel like the majority of that Seahawks-Falcons game early on in the season in Seattle was Seattle held a nice halftime lead and dominated the majority of the first half. Atlanta came out with a nice third quarter run, and Seahawks were able to withstand it and come out with a victory. And that's not the case that we saw this last week. And NFL, professional sports in general, is all about a game of adjustments. And since the Falcons beat the Packers early on in the season, beat them by 1 point, and that was back when Rodgers had no run game. There was nobody knew who their running back was going to be. Everyone was going down. Their team was depleted. People were sitting on the sidelines, but Rodgers has kept it going since then. He's played just as hot as football as Matt Ryan, and that's definitely a credit to both quarterbacks. Matt Ryan's been playing great. Played great last week against the Seahawks, as you mentioned. Every single time he looked up, there was somebody open, and he was able to thread one of the best defenses in the game and putting up points in bunches. And here we are, NFC Championship game against the Packers. So like you said, it's going to be a shootout. Two great quarterbacks in the game today. I just don't see Matt Ryan as a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. There's just something about him. It doesn't matter how well he's done this year. He was even my fantasy quarterback. There's just something about watching him his whole career and seeing how he has choked and lost the nickname Matty Ice, because he's been far from it for a while now. And I'm just not seeing him winning the Super Bowl. The team is talented enough. The defense they're all right. Not a really good defense, but they're playing really well. They have some continuity, even without Desmond Trufant. And I just don't. The Packers are depleted. No Jordy Nelson. I'm sure maybe he'll try to make a comeback this week or before the Super Bowl. But I believe that one hit and he's done. And then for the Falcons, I'm really worried about Julio Jones. That's really what's holding me back from picking the Falcons. Julio Jones, we saw it in the Seattle game. Once Julio went out of the game, it was kind of back and forth, and Seattle had their opportunities to come back into the game. But if they don't have their number one weapon, then they're just a mediocre team. Julio Jones is obviously an elite wide receiver, one of the best in the game. But he's got to stay healthy. That's always been his issue. And Matt Ryan is going to struggle without Julio. And I'm just not confident in his toe right now. Whatever it was that kept him out of the Seahawks game, I believe that his turf toe that's been reoccurring these last couple of weeks. Very unfortunate time, obviously. But I really like what the Packers are doing. Rodgers, although he had a pick last week, playing mistake-free for the most part, playing some of the best football. And I just like his weapons more than I like Mohamed Sanu being his second best option in Atlanta. That's just I was rather disappointed in the Seahawks, but they're not in the conversation this week, so I'll just keep it just as brief as that. And I'm just more confident, and I would like to see a Steelers Packers rematch of Super Bowl 45. I'm sure the Steelers are biting at the chops, and Steelers fans in general, real Steelers fans, are wanting that rematch with the Packers. And I think that's what it's going to be. That's what's going to happen. So I'm going Steelers in the AFC, and I'm rolling with the Packers in the NFC Championship games.
Well, it should be an interesting Super Bowl with the Steelers and Packers if everything goes well, or even if we're wrong for some weird reason, if that ever happened, which I guess it did last week. But should be interesting if it is a Patriots and Falcons Super Bowl as well, or any mix of those teams. I think it'll be not as exciting as Super Bowls we've seen before, because there's no Seahawks in it and no Lions in it ever in the history of the NFL since the Super Bowl was created. Lions are going to do it one of these days. But I know us here at the Revolutionary Sports Show, we're hoping the Hawks and the Lions can be in the NFC Championship next year, and we're looking forward to that being a thing. But as of right now, those are our picks for the week, and maybe we can get together, have some buffalo wings or something if you're in town soon for the Super Bowl, and just celebrate our winning picks if it ends up happening.
Of course. Just another successful Revolutionary Sports Show football season. And, I think it's going to be an exciting weekend of football, though, like you said, our teams aren't going to be in it. But I'm on the fence about it. A little happy that guys get to rest up, and watching Pete's interview, his exit interview, end of the year interview, it was positive. So I'll just I lied. I said I was going to keep brief about the Hawks. I lied. All right. So so I'm happy. It's relatively. But yeah, I'm excited for these teams that are playing this weekend, and I hope none of the Patriots or Falcons fans come after me. It's nothing personal. I just think that the other team is better than your team. That's all I'm saying.
So yeah, I mean, what he's saying is he doesn't like you guys, and I can publish his address online if you guys want, but no, I don't even know where he lives. So I haven't been to his house down there, but one of these days I will find out where he lives. But I won't post his address online. That'd be a little weird, and I don't want to go Steve Bartman on him and have people threatening him over a game. So just revolutionary sports show fun over here, and don't take it personal if we pick against your team, like Corey said. But that just about wraps it up for the conference championship edition of the Revolutionary Sports Show. Maybe we'll see you next week for the Super Bowl edition. Maybe if you're lucky, even throw in some hockey, basketball, baseball analysis. Get back to the basics. But we'll catch you next time. Brian Duchaine and Corey Sullivan. It's always a good time.
See you later. Peace.
Later.